Moonlight spills over the spruce roofs like cold milk, and every door in the village is barred from the inside. A baby villager whimpers, then stops. Outside, the first groan rolls through the wheat fields, wet and patient. Torches hiss in the wind. Someone tries to close their eyes anyway, palms pressed hard to their own lids, begging the world to skip ahead to morning. Yet the dark does not budge, and the night keeps breathing. If you want more of these Minecraft timelines where one rule breaks and everything collapses, tap like and subscribe. And tell everyone in the comments, which biome would you try to defend first if you could never sleep the night away? The bell does not ring because the iron golem has already left the square. He stands at the edge of the farms, shoulders squared toward the tree line, tracking the sound of feet in grass that should not be there. Behind him, windows glow with candles and fear. The villagers do not understand the change yet. They only know that tonight feels longer, that their beds feel like stones, that their yawns do nothing. In the nearest house, a player named Mara stares at her inventory as if it has betrayed her. She has a bed, white wool, clean and certain. She places it anyway, like a prayer. She lies down. The world does not dim. No soft slide into dawn. No gentle reset. The same stars stare back through the window, unmoving as if nailed to the sky. The same low moan drifts closer. Mara sits up, throat tight. She places the bed again. She lies down again. Nothing. Her friend Jory across the room laughs once. Too sharp, too forced. Maybe it is lag. Outside, something scratches at the door. They had always treated sleep like a lever. Pull it, and the night ends. Pull it, and danger becomes a memory. Pull it, and the world forgives you for being unprepared. Now the lever is snapped off in their hands. The first breach comes from the back window. A skeleton arrow punches through glass and buries itself in the crafting table with a clean, hateful thunk. Mara flinches so hard she drops her pickaxe. Jory grabs a shield and moves to the door, but the iron golem's heavy footsteps are retreating, not approaching. It has chased one threat and left 10 behind. Mara hears it then, underneath the groans and the rattling bones, the soft, wet pop of a creeper's fuse. Down, she hisses. They throw themselves into the corner as the wall blooms outward. Dirt and wood and torchlight explode into the night. For a heartbeat, the room is open air. Cold wind rushes in, carrying the smell of damp soil and something metallic. Then the screaming starts. Villagers, high and thin. Mara crawls to the hole, eyes wide. A baby villager runs in circles in the street, arms out, no path to safety. A zombie catches it by the shoulder like it is grabbing a sack of grain. Jory's voice goes quiet. We cannot skip this. Mara does not answer. She's already moving. Across the plains, beyond the village, another player watches the same stars and feels the same wrongness in his bones. His name is Elian, and he is alone on a hill with a half-built tower and a bed he made days ago, confident he could always reset the dark if needed. He has been mining too deep, coming up late, trusting the bed to erase his mistakes. He places it now, just to confirm the nightmare. Nothing. The night remains a locked door. Elian's eyes flick to the horizon, where the village lights flicker like a ship taking on water. He sees a flash, an explosion, brief and orange, and then darkness closes over it again. He hears faint bells, then silence, then the long chorus of the undead. He could run there. He could be a hero. He could also die in the wheat fields for someone else's mistake. He turns toward his tower, jaw clenched, and begins placing cobblestone with hands that shake. If the night cannot be skipped, then walls must become the new morning. In the desert to the south, a wandering trader has already learned the new rule in the hardest way. He sits with his back against a sandstone outcrop, llamas tied close, their ears pinned. He has no bed, no village, no iron golem. He has only the moon and the knowledge that the darkness does not bargain anymore. A husk shuffles across the sand, drawn by the trader's breathing. Another follows. The trader grips his lead rope like a weapon and whispers nonsense to the llamas, soft syllables meant to soothe. His eyes burn. He has been awake for what feels like hours, and the fatigue is not just in his body. It is in the way his thoughts drag. He will not be the last to realize that this world has invented a new resource, rest, and it has made it rare. By dawn, when it finally comes, slow as a bruise spreading, the village is smaller, not in blocks, but in people. Mara stands in the square with a borrowed iron helmet dented on one side. Jory leans on a stone wall, breathing like he has swallowed sand. The iron golem returns, one arm missing. Vines of redstone-like cracks crawling up its torso. It looks at the broken houses as if it is trying to understand blame. Villagers emerge like ghosts from their homes, eyes wide, hands empty. They do not speak much. They only count who is missing. A farmer points shakily at the bed in Mara's inventory, then at the sky, then at the bed again. The gesture is simple. Why did it not work? Mara opens her mouth and finds nothing that fits. She can explain mechanics, but she cannot explain betrayal. Jory spits into the dirt. "We build higher walls," he says. "We light everything. We do not go out at night. We do not go mining late. We adapt." Mara looks at the horizon where the sun climbs, and she feels no relief, because she has seen how long the night can be when it refuses to end on command. And she has seen how quickly people forget the terror once the light returns. Elian, on his hill, does not forget. He has not slept. He has not even sat down. He has spent the entire night placing blocks, listening to footsteps circle his tower like wolves circling a fire. At sunrise, he steps back and sees what he has made. A brutal cylinder of cobblestone with a ladder inside and a platform at the top. It is not elegant. It is not home. It is a statement. He names it quietly, as if naming can make it real. The Watch. Then he looks toward the village again and sees smoke. 2 days later, the first phantom appears. It is not announced with a tutorial or a warning. It simply arrives as a shadow that does not match the sun. A thin, leathery shape glides over the village farms at dusk, silent enough that even the chickens do not cluck. Mara is repairing a fence when the light shifts. She looks up and sees it. A pair of pale eyes in a face like stretched paper, wings cutting the air like knives. It circles once, as if tasting the shape of the village, then dives. The scream that follows is not from Mara. It is from a villager who never made it back inside. The phantom's talons rake the villager's head, and the villager collapses like a puppet with cut strings. The phantom lifts again, trailing a ribbon of red. Mara's stomach turns. She has fought zombies, skeletons, creepers. Those are ground threats, predictable angles. This is the sky itself deciding to hunt. Jory fires an arrow and misses. The phantom banks, almost amused, and disappears into the darkening blue. The villagers begin to murmur a new word. One they do not fully understand but feel in their bones. insomnia. That night, no one sleeps. Not because they choose bravery, because the bed still does nothing, and now closing eyes feels like inviting claws. Elian sees the phantom too from the top of the watch. It passes over him like a bad thought. He tracks it with a bow, calculates the lead, and fires. The arrow hits. The phantom shrieks, a sound like tearing cloth, and spirals down beyond the tree line. Elian does not cheer. He only notes the fact they can be killed. The sky is not invincible, but the cost is waking, always waking. In the swamp, a witch watches the new pattern with interest. Her hut sits on stilts above black water, and the air smells of rot and sugar. She has never needed sleep. She has never trusted beds. She stirs a potion that glows faintly, listening to distant phantom cries like music. Finally, she rasps to no one. She begins to trade, not with emeralds, but with relief. The first major shift comes when Mara's village stops being a village and becomes a fortress. They dig a trench. They build a second wall. They place torches until the night is a net of orange points. They assign shifts. One villager rings the bell at sunset, not as a warning, but as a ritual. Everyone moves fast, practiced, eyes hollow. Mara and Jory argue in whispers over the map table in the repaired town hall. The map is a patchwork of explored areas: plains, forest, river, a dark blot where the cave mouth yawns. "We need iron," Jory says. "We need shields for everyone. We need more golems. We cannot keep losing people to arrows through windows. And if we go down there and the night catches us," Mara replies, "we cannot sleep in the cave. We cannot reset if it goes wrong." Jory's hands tighten. "Then we do not let it go wrong." Mara looks at him and sees the beginning of something dangerous. The belief that discipline can replace mercy. That if they just plan enough, they can outthink exhaustion. Outside, a child villager draws circles in the dirt with a stick, eyes half-lidded, swaying. The child has not slept in days. No one has. In the desert, the wandering trader reaches an outpost and collapses at its base, laughing weakly at the irony. Pillagers look down from the wooden watchtower, crossbows ready. They do not care that he is exhausted, that his llamas are trembling. They see opportunity. "He cannot run," one pillager says, voice flat. They take his leads, they take his goods. They leave him alive because cruelty is easier when it can repeat. The trader crawls away into the sand and in his wake spreads a rumor carried by other travelers. There are places that will sell you safety, but none that will sell you sleep. Elian does not come to the village when Mara expects him to. He sends a message instead, delivered by a villager brave enough to sprint between torchlines. The message is simple, scratched on paper: build up, build in the sky. The ground belongs to them at night. Mara reads it twice. Jory scoffs. "We are not birds." But Mara cannot forget the phantom's dive, the way the sky has joined the hunt. Up is not safe either. Yet the watch stood through the night. Elian stood through the night. Something in that stubborn verticality feels like the only answer. Then the second peak hits, a raid that never ends at sunset. Pillagers arrive at dusk, banners snapping, horns blaring. The village bell answers, frantic. Villagers pour into houses. Golems lumber to the gate. Mara and Jory take positions on the wall, bows drawn, hearts pounding. They have fought raids before. The pattern is known: waves, victory, then sleep to recover. But the raid begins as the sun drops, and the night makes it worse. Zombies wander into the battlefield, drawn by sound, attacking anything warm. Skeletons perch in trees and fire at both sides. A creeper detonates under a pillager captain, scattering bodies and loot. The pillagers do not retreat. They cannot. They are as trapped by the darkness as everyone else. Mara watches a vindicator swing an axe into a zombie's skull, then turn and swing the same axe into a villager who stumbled outside. The villager drops. The vindicator roars, and the roar is swallowed by a phantom scream overhead. Jory shouts orders, voice cracking. "Hold the gate! Do not chase! Do not chase!" A ravager slams into the wooden gate, splintering it. The iron golem meets it head-on, fists like anvils. They grapple in the torchlight, two machines of violence, and the ground shakes. Mara fires until her fingers numb. She sees a pillager fall, then rise again. No, not rise. A zombie steps into the pillager's dropped crossbow and picks it up, clumsy but determined. The world is mixing its threats now, improvising. Hours pass. The raid horn sounds again and again, as if time is stuck. Mara's vision blurs at the edges. She blinks hard, but blinking feels like drowning. At some point near midnight, Jory slips on blood and nearly falls from the wall. Mara catches his arm. His eyes are red-rimmed. "How long can they keep coming?" he whispers. Mara looks at the darkness beyond the torches and realizes the answer with a chill. As long as we stay awake. Because the raid does not end when the last pillager dies. It ends when the village survives the night. And the night in this world has become a siege. Elian, miles away, sees the glow of the village battle on the horizon. He does not go. He's in his own war now, one quieter and more personal, fighting his own mind. On the third sleepless night, he begins to see movement that is not there. A spider that vanishes when he looks directly. A creeper hiss that turns out to be wind through stone. His hands fumble blocks. He drops a stack of cobblestone and watches it scatter like teeth. He laughs once, then stops because the sound is not his. A voice speaks from the ladder below, soft and amused. "You build so high for someone who cannot escape his own skull." Elian freezes. There is no one there. He knows there is no one there. Yet the voice continues, silky as potion smoke. In the swamp, the witch smiles into her cauldron. She has brewed something new, a draught that does not grant sleep, but grants the feeling of having slept. A counterfeit dawn in a bottle. It is not kindness, it is leverage. Word reaches the village after the raid finally breaks at sunrise, leaving the square littered with arrows and ash. A survivor from a distant hamlet arrives, limping, carrying a single glass bottle wrapped in cloth like a relic. Mara uncorks it and smells herbs and something sharp like lightning. The survivor's eyes are desperate. "A witch sells them," he says. "One bottle and the phantoms stop. One bottle and your hands steady. One bottle and you remember what it feels like to breathe." Jory's suspicion flares. At what price? "Emeralds," the survivor whispers, "and favors." The village council meets that afternoon. Faces gaunt, voices brittle. Villagers who once argued about carrots now argue about ethics. "We cannot deal with witches," an elder says, shaking. "They twist everything." "We are already twisted," another snaps. "Look at us." Mara listens, and in her silence, the camera of fate lingers on her bed, still unused, still mocking. Elian makes his choice first. He goes to the swamp at dusk, hood up, bow ready, moving through reeds that whisper against his legs. He finds the hut lit by a single lantern. The witch stands in the doorway, like she has been waiting for him for years. "You look like a man who would trade anything," she says. Elian's jaw tightens. "Name it." She tilts her head. "Bring me a heart from the deep dark. Bring me a shard from a city that should not exist. Bring me proof you can walk where even the night is afraid." Elian's eyes flicker. He has heard rumors, ancient cities buried under skulk, places where sound itself is punished. He has avoided them because he could always sleep after fear. Now fear has no off switch. "What do I get?" he asks. The witch holds up a bottle. Its liquid swirls like captured dawn. "A lie your body will believe." Elian takes it. His fingers brush glass, and for a moment, his hands stop shaking. He drinks. The effect is immediate. His shoulders drop. His breathing deepens. The world sharpens. It is not sleep, but it is relief, so intense it almost hurts. Above the swamp, a phantom shrieks, circles once, then veers away as if repelled. Elian closes his eyes, and for the first time in days, the darkness behind his eyelids feels safe. When he opens them, the witch is smiling wider. "Now," she says, "you will work." The village cannot ignore this. Mara leads an expedition to the swamp, not with greed, but with a kind of exhausted humility. Jory comes too, because he does not trust bargains made without him. They arrive at the hut at twilight and find a line already forming. Players from scattered biomes, villagers with emeralds clutched tight, even a pillager with his crossbow lowered, eyes sunken, banner torn. The night has made enemies into customers. The witch walks among them like a queen. "One bottle," she croons, "and the sky forgets you." Mara steps forward. "We will pay," she says, voice steady, "but not forever. Tell us how to fix it." The witch's gaze slides over Mara's face, lingering on the dark circles under her eyes. "Fix?" she repeats, savoring the word. "You think the world broke by accident?" Jory's hand moves to his sword. "Enough games." The witch laughs, and the sound makes the swamp water ripple. "Beds are promises," she says, "and someone has revoked the promise." Mara feels a cold thread of dread. "Who?" The witch leans in. "Something that hates shortcuts." She does not say the name, but the viewers know. The ancient city, the skulk. The warden, a guardian of silence and consequence. The third major turn begins underground. Elian, bound by his bargain, descends first. He brings wool to muffle steps, a hoe to clear skulk, and the last of the witch's bottles tucked like salvation against his ribs. Mara and Jory follow days later with a small team because they cannot allow one man to hold the only supply of false rest. They enter a cave mouth at dusk, torches sputtering, and the air grows colder with every block down. Dripstone hangs like teeth. Bats flutter, startled by the glow. The deeper they go, the more the world feels like it is listening. When they reach the first patch of skulk, the sound changes. Their footsteps become accusations. The blue veins pulse faintly, as if the ground is breathing. Mara whispers, "No loud tools, no panic." Jory nods, but his eyes are wild. He has been awake too long. His patience is thin as string. They see the city at last, ruined towers, broken arches, a cathedral of stone swallowed by darkness. Skulk censers dot the floor like eyes. Shriekers sit like open mouths. Elian is already there, crouched behind a pillar, face gaunt but focused. He looks up as they approach and does not smile. "You came," he says. "We had to," Mara replies. "What did you learn?" Elian's voice drops. "Something down here is interfering. The night above feels heavier since I came, longer, like it is pushing back." Jory snorts softly. Or you are losing your mind. Elian's gaze snaps to him, sharp. We are all losing our minds. A sensor twitches. Everyone freezes. A soft, rising wail begins. The shrieker waking. Mara's heart slams. She throws wool down instinctively, muffling a step. Jory grips his sword too tight. Knuckles white. Elian's hand goes to his bottle. The shriek completes. Silence follows, thick and absolute. Then the darkness moves. The warden rises from the skulk like a nightmare given mass. Its chest glows with a sickly blue, pulsing like a heart. It turns its head as if smelling fear. Mara cannot help it. A breath catches in her throat. The warden's head snaps toward the sound. It charges. They scatter. Elian throws a snowball to draw it away, the tiny impact sounding like thunder in their ears. The warden veers, roaring, a sound that makes stone vibrate. Mara runs across broken slabs. Careful, careful. Then a skeleton arrow from nowhere clatters against stone, and the sound is enough. The warden pivots again, faster than it should be. Jory, exhausted and furious, does the worst possible thing. He yells, "Over here!" The warden answers with violence. It slams into him, and Jory's shield shatters like glass. He goes down hard. Mara sees his body jerk, hears the dull impact, and something in her chest tears open. "Elian!" she shouts, then clamps her mouth shut, horrified at her own noise. Elian does not hesitate. He drinks the last of his bottle, eyes clearing, and moves with sudden precision. He throws wool, blocks pathways, lures the warden toward a corridor lined with traps they prepared. Pistons, lava buckets, a desperate machine made by sleepless hands. The warden hits the first trap and barely slows. Lava splashes across its shoulders and slides off like rain. It keeps coming. Mara drags Jory behind a pillar, hands slick with blood. His eyes flutter. He tries to speak. "Do not," Mara whispers. "Save it." Jory's lips crack into a faint, bitter smile. "Funny," he breathes. "We built walls, and the night still got in." His eyes close. They do not open again. Mara's grief is a physical weight. It threatens to make her scream, to make her smash every sensor in the city just to hear something other than silence. She presses her forehead to the stone and forces herself to breathe without sound. Elian returns, face pale. "We cannot kill it," he mouths. Mara looks at the skulk spreading like mold across the floor, and she understands. The warden is not the cause. It is the symptom. The city is awake, and the world above is paying for it. They find the heart of the city, a massive portal frame, ancient and inert, ringed by skulk. At its center sits something new in this timeline, a cluster of skulk pulsing around a bed, half consumed, as if the city has eaten the concept of sleep and is digesting it. Mara stares, horror turning into clarity. "It is stealing it," she whispers. "Every time someone tries to sleep, it feeds something down here." Elian's eyes narrow. "Then we starve it." The plan is not noble. It is brutal. They return to the surface with a single goal: stop placing beds, stop trying, stop feeding the deep dark. But people do not stop. Desperation makes them cling to rituals even when rituals fail. So Mara does something that makes her village hate her for a while. She orders every bed burned. In the square, villagers cry out as wool and wood go up in flames. The smell is sharp, like scorched hope. Mara stands rigid, tears carving clean lines down her dirty face. "It does not work," she says, voice carrying. "It never will. Not while we keep begging." An elder spits at her feet, a child sobs. The iron golem watches, head tilted, unable to understand why humans destroy comfort. Elian builds the next answer, not sleep, but structure. He expands the watch into a network of towers across biomes, linked by bridges high above the ground. Sky roads, outposts with constant light, farms enclosed in glass, trading routes guarded by golems and archers. The world transforms under insomnia. Forests near settlements vanish, chopped for charcoal and torches. Rivers are diverted to create moats. Mountains are hollowed into bunkers. The night becomes a tax paid in wood, iron, and attention. Villagers adapt in small, heartbreaking ways. They stop wandering. They stop gossiping in the square at dusk. They develop a new economy: daylight labor, night watch. Children are taught to aim bows before they are taught to farm. And still, the phantoms come. Unless the witch's bottles are used, the witch grows rich. Pillagers strike deals. Even the Endermen, indifferent as ever, seem to linger near torchlight longer, as if curious about a world that never rests. The fourth peak arrives when the witch is overthrown, not by heroes, but by a coalition of the exhausted. A pillager captain, face lined with sleepless rage, meets Mara under a flag of truce at noon. His banner is torn, his crossbow lowered. "Your walls are strong," he says, "but your people are breaking. So are mine." Mara's hand stays near her sword. "Why talk?" "Because the witch sells relief," he says, voice bitter. And she charges in chains. Elian stands beside Mara, eyes on the horizon. "You want to rob her?" The captain nods. "And you want to end her control." They form an alliance that would have been unthinkable in a world where sleep erased grudges overnight. That evening, they march into the swamp together. Villagers with bows, players with axes, pillagers with their own weapons, all moving like a single organism, driven by the same need. The witch is waiting. Her hut is surrounded by lanterns, and the air hums with potion fumes. She steps onto her porch, calm as a storm. "You came to take what you cannot make," she says. Mara steps forward. "We came to stop you from profiting off suffering." The witch's smile turns sharp. Suffering is the only currency that never devalues. She throws a splash potion. It shatters, and green poison blooms through the front ranks. People cough, stumble, eyes watering. A second potion follows. Slowness, thickening limbs like wet clay. Pillagers fire anyway, bolts thudding into wood. Villagers push through, faces set. Elian climbs a tree for height and shoots, each arrow precise. The witch retreats into her hut, slamming the door. Inside, glass clinks. A cauldron bubbles harder. The swamp itself seems to lean in. Mara, coughing, reaches the door first. She kicks it in. The interior is cramped, shelves lined with bottles that glow like captured sunsets. In the center, a chest overflowing with emeralds. And behind it, the witch, eyes bright with fury. "You will regret this," the witch hisses. Mara does not answer. She swings her axe and shatters the shelf. Bottles explode, liquid spilling across the floor in a rainbow flood. The smell is overwhelming. Sweet, bitter, electric. For a moment, the air feels like dawn and death at once. The witch screams and lunges, but a pillager bolt hits her chest. She staggers. Elian's arrow follows, pinning her to the wall. The hut goes quiet except for dripping potion. Outside, the poison fades slowly. People breathe again. The phantoms above, sensing the absence of the witch's false relief, begin to circle. Mara steps out of the hut, holding one intact bottle, the last. She looks at it, then at the faces around her. Enemies, allies, all equally hollow-eyed. Elian's voice is low. We could share it. Mara's fingers tighten. Or we could destroy it. The pillager captain steps closer, gaze hungry. Or we could decide who deserves it. A silence falls heavier than any night. The viewers see the choice forming like a blade. Mara lifts the bottle and smashes it on the swampstone. The liquid splashes, steaming, and the air briefly smells like rest. Then it is gone. The coalition does not cheer. Some look like they might kill her. Some look like they might cry. But the decision is made. No more lies. No more dependence. If this world cannot sleep, it will learn to endure honestly. The climax comes not in a battle, but in a descent. Mara and Elian return to the deep dark with TNT, wool, and a plan born from grief. They cannot kill the warden. They cannot reclaim sleep. But they can seal the wound. They move through the ancient city like thieves, placing wool, muffling every breath. The warden prowls somewhere nearby, a moving absence. Sensors twitch, shriekers wait. They reach the portal frame again and see the skulk bed cluster pulsing brighter as if hungry. Mara's throat tightens at the sight of the half-eaten bed, the symbol of everything lost. Elian sets TNT around the frame, hands steady despite the tremor in his jaw. Once we ignite, we run, he whispers. No hesitation. Mara nods. She places one last block of wool like a funeral cloth. A sensor twitches anyway. The shrieker begins. Mara's heart stutters. She lights the fuse. They run. The warden erupts from the skulk behind them, roaring, the sound vibrating through their bones. It charges, faster than fear. Mara's lungs burn. Elian's boots skid on stone. A phantom scream echoes faintly from above ground, impossibly distant, as if the sky is listening too. The TNT detonates. The blast is muffled by stone, but still immense. The ancient frame collapses inward. Skulk flies like black snow. A shockwave rolls through the city, extinguishing torches, swallowing sound. Mara and Elian are thrown forward. Mara's head hits stone. For a moment, everything is dark. When she wakes, she hears something unfamiliar. Silence that feels finished. The warden is gone. Not dead, but buried, sealed beneath collapsed ruins. The skulk around the frame is charred, its pulsing slowed to a faint dying glow. They climb out over hours, battered and bleeding, emerging into daylight that looks the same as always. Birds chirp, leaves rustle. The world pretends nothing changed. That night, the village waits. Villagers sit in their houses, hands clasped, eyes wide. Mara stands in the square, staring at the sky. Elian stands beside her, bow in hand, as if daring the darkness to argue. The sun sets, the night arrives, and it still does not skip. Beds still do nothing. The rule is not restored. The promise remains revoked. But something has changed. The phantoms do not come. Hours pass. No leathery wings, no shrieks. The sky remains empty except for stars. In the distance, zombies groan, skeletons rattle, creepers hiss. The ground threats remain. The night is still dangerous. But the sky, at least, has stopped punishing sleeplessness. The immediate aftermath is not celebration. It is a long exhale that turns into sobbing in private rooms. Villagers mourn those lost in raids, in trenches, in moments when blinking too long meant death. Mara mourns Jory in the quietest way. By standing watch on the wall, he died defending. Every dusk, every dawn. Elian becomes what he built, a watcher. He expands the sky roads, not as monuments, but as arteries of survival. Towers rise in the taiga, in the savannah, on mushroom islands where mobs rarely spawn, and people can finally sit outside at night without hearing footsteps in grass. Pillagers, stripped of their easy raids, fracture. Some keep fighting, unable to imagine a life without taking. Others join caravans, trading protection for food because exhaustion has made even cruelty expensive. The swamp becomes empty. The witch's hut rots into the water, shelves broken, potions gone. But the idea she proved remains. Relief can be weaponized. Mara keeps that lesson close, like a scar. The world order shifts into something harsher and strangely more honest. No one expects the night to be merciful. No one builds a base without redundancy. No one travels without torches and a schedule. People learn to value daylight the way they once valued diamonds. And in the quiet hours before dawn, when the village is lit like a constellation on the plains, Mara sometimes takes out the last bed she saved from the fire. One she hid, one she could not bear to destroy. She places it on her roof and lies down, just to feel the shape of it under her back. The sky does not change. Somewhere deep beneath the world, under collapsed stone and dead skulk, something listens for the sound of a player giving up and finds only the steady rhythm of footsteps on a wall that will never again believe in morning as a shortcut.